Assalamualaikum warahmatullahi wabarakatuh. Hope you're doing well. Now we're continuing our reading of the Constitution of the Jesuits, the Society of Jesus, their constitutions and norms. We are in chapter 7 now, and this is about the scholastics and what has to happen before they are admitted to their studies. So what I learned in this section, which I found to be quite interesting, is that the scholastics have to make vows of poverty, chastity, and obedience upon completing their studies so they can enter into the society. So, to be one of their intellectuals, essentially, someone who's going to study a lot, you have to be poor. I found that to be quite interesting because today you kind of see those Christian preachers who are on private jets. There was, maybe I'll share the news story. I forgot which pastor it was, but he had like a Louis Vuitton suit. He got caught for money laundering. He was a Christian pastor. And so essentially, he was a famous one where he got robbed for his jewelry while he was holding church services. So it's interesting when you contrast how they want their scholars to be more of humble means, but then how some Christians have decided to go into excessive luxury. And then it continues, the society holds the right to refuse admission into a profession as coadjutors if said students make a poor showing of their knowledge. Upon rejection of admittance, they will be released from their vows. So I wrote that down, and it basically gets at that if you fail to perform, they're not obligated to just let you in because you studied or because you wanted or whatever. You don't make the cut, you don't make the cut. And if you are dismissed, i.e. rejected, you're released from your vows. So you don't have to worry about it. I found that to be kind of interesting. Reminds me of that sign you see in stores that says the right to refuse service to anyone. I saw that as very similar. Now, scholastics who make the cut must allow themselves to be directed in their studies. So I noticed a theme of control here, such as what one studies and how long they do it for. So they'll show you how to study, what you should study, and how long you have to study for. I don't know if I like that, because I think everyone learns in a different way, but I think they just want like a standardized methodology, which is fine, but maybe the scholastics have some free time to study how they desire. And then the society will choose a course curriculum that is best to the society, its superior, and the superior of the college. And the student will have to accept that. So the will of the superior is overriding of what the student wants. So essentially, if you're sufficiently capable for pursuing the scholastic profession within the Jesuit society, you have to allow yourself to be fully guided by your superior. So the obedience angle here is quite apparent. It goes on farther to state that the scholastics must be content to live in the same manner as others. This includes not seeking to be more superior to another or to have more advantage than the person who has the least in the college. I thought that was kind of odd. So it kind of goes against competition. They don't let them have children. They don't let them be married. And you're tightly controlled with how you study and what you study. And you have to erode competition. I think it sounds they're going for this sort of equality angle, but at the same time, if you have a student who excels and they're superior in their knowledge, I don't see what's wrong with them wanting to have an advantage in that. I think a little bit of healthy competition is good, but they obviously have a different perspective. And so it makes you wonder. They also have to leave their well-being entirely to their superior. So a lot of trust here. So they have to leave the concern for their well-being and understand that it's entirely in the control of their superior. So what you get here is a lot of yes men. I wonder if that's a environment for knowledge. I don't know, because I think the free flow of thought can get out of hand and off the rails, but at the same time, you can constrain it so much so that it really does a disservice to your creative juices. But their methodology is working for them. It goes on further to state that the scholastic must be determined when his studies and probations are over, aka completed, that one must understand and enact that in order to live and die for the greater glory of God is an obligation. So they're going to ask the scholastic here how determined they are to live and die for the greater glory of God. And the dedication of the student seems to be very apparent. So they don't just let you in willy-nilly. They're gonna sift through you, put you on a probation period, test you, and ask you a lot of questions. There's going to be a lot of people who sift through you to see if you have what it takes. Essentially, what I get from this is that they want the cream of the crop, which is expected, but they also want you to know that you're not just going to come in and do whatever it is you like. You don't get to just waltz around and think that it's going to be your vacation time. I'm noticing that it's very different than like what these Hindu cults do, these yoga retreats in some parts of America. Very different than the Buddhistic ones, right? This is very much structured and regimented for a specific purpose. And it appears that the society sees itself as solely serving God, and that to serve the society is to serve God. So it does appear that they put like a very huge emphasis on the collective here, because through the collective they're able to help the religion succeed and their order to succeed. Because if they're telling people to be content to live in the same manners as others and not to seek some type of hierarchical advantage, you can get at how they want things to be smooth sailing, not a lot of friction or argumentation or envy or jealousy. Interesting approach. Very interesting. So it's not easy to pass the exam for the scholastics or to get admitted to studies. So when they tell you to make a vow of obedience, they're not joking. I find that to be very apparent, because if you think it's simply as, oh, you believe in this faith and that's it, and that's what they mean by obedience, no, quite clearly there's a long list of what that entails. You're not just gonna get around that. They got a lot of checks and balances to keep you in line. Very fascinating. What do you think? This section was very profound. Those were the notes that I took for this area, and so I wanted to share with you. By the way, if you'd like to join my blog, www.subscribestar.com/MilahanArchive. I post a lot of long-form content on there if you enjoy reading. I share personal stories from childhood, memes, interesting stuff, you name it. It can be random at times, but still lots of stuff on there that you can even go back and look at. And I post quite frequently on there. Not to the point where you'll get overwhelmed, but enough to feel satisfied, I figure. And there's a good community I'm trying to build on there, so consider joining. Have a good day, and I'll see you next time.